What we know now is that there's no amount of alcohol that brings with it no risk at all. And alcohol doesn't just lead to risk of liver damage and potentially liver cancer. Alcohols are now associated with other cancers from throat and mouth, breast, and bowel cancers as well. I set up an alcohol reduction course many years ago, and I've been helping people ever since then cut back on their drinking. Some of the common things that people have found useful repeatedly are arranging and planning to have drink-free days, because it gives our body a chance to recover and it shows us that we can have an evening without drinking. Other people drink heavily when they're out. They might be a binge drinker. They find things like switching to a different drink that's weaker in units helps. So they, instead of drinking double gin and tonics, they might switch to single gin and tonics. They may alternate with non-alcoholic drinks. They may weaken their drinks by making spritzers or shandies or tops, for example. It also helps to eat first, because you can then absorb the alcohol more slower into the bloodstream, and that helps you stay more in control of your drinking decisions throughout an evening. It's the units that matter. The body doesn't care whether it's a fancy bottle of wine or a cheap can of lager. It's the alcohol content that does the harm. So it is important to know your number. The guidelines have been coming down over the years. The units were 21 and 28 for women and men once. Then there were 21 for women and men, and now they're 14 for women and men. So we're learning more about the risks of long-term alcohol use, and there's no number at which there's no risk at all. So I'd encourage you to start looking at the units on the alcohol you're buying, or looking it up using apps like the DrinkAware app, and then you can set some goals and plans to cut back. Something else people might want to think about is just changing the size of the glass they're using, or actually measuring, particularly if they're drinking at home. It's easy to overpour, so getting a measuring cup can also help people reduce how much they're drinking overall. There's a vast array now in most large supermarkets near the alcohol aisle, but it's the low and no aisle. So I do encourage you to have a look at that aisle now. And the same in pubs. More and more even have a 0% lager on tap, or they'll certainly have something in bottles. So the reality is that many of us, with a few tips and tricks, can actually make a lot of positive change ourselves. However, there are lots of people in North East London who might benefit from getting some advice and support. Even if that's just cutting down your alcohol to lower risk levels, they can help, and it's confidential and free. And I do encourage people who are struggling to get help from their local service.